You're about to DM your first campaign. You've got the DM guide, lots of dice, lots of plot hooks, way too many NPC stats prepared. But what happens when your players are not interested in the main quest? When no one can agree on when to play? Or when a player leaves the game because your dragon encounter is unwinnable at level 1? Yeah, nobody warned me about all that either. In this video, I'll give you the 10 DM rules I wish I'd known before I ran my first campaign, because learning them on the job, it was a bumpy ride. By the way, I'm Jace, an actor, writer, and D&D DM with over 10 years of experience and a passion for immersive and story-driven D&D games. On this channel, I give you tools, tips, and actor-level insights so you can move beyond just rolling dice and start telling stories you'll remember for years. You don't need to know all the rules. Most new DMs think they need to memorize the player's handbook cover to cover. But that's obviously pretty time-consuming, let's say. So instead of trying to master every rule, focus on understanding the core mechanics, ability checks, saving throws, and action economy in combat. If something comes up that you don't know, look it up. And if you can't figure it out fast, then make a quick call in the moment and look it up later. My rule of thumb is I try to accommodate what my players want to do, unless it would be game-breaking. But more on that later. Your job isn't to be a rulebook. It's to keep the story moving and to keep the game fun. I was always afraid on ruling on things that I was shaky on because I thought I'd set a precedent. But it isn't that serious. You can always tell your players you looked it up, and going forward, the rule's going to be different. Players don't need perfection. They need clarity, confidence, fairness, and a game that doesn't screech to a halt every 5 minutes. Session 0 is mandatory. You might assume everyone's on the same page when you sit down to play, but they're not. One person wants to roleplay, another person wants dungeon puzzles, one is building a homebrew class with 19 features. So if you skip session 0, you're inviting party friction, broken expectations, and a campaign that will likely implode after 5 sessions. So here's what to cover at session 0. Tone and genre. Is this horror, comedy, epic fantasy, and are they excited about it? If they think it's Monty Python and you're giving them Game of Thrones, you've already lost them. Player boundaries. Talk about lines and veils. Lines represent topics that are entirely off limits and will not be included in the game. Veils are topics that can be included, but will not be described in detail, often happening off screen. Schedule and commitment. Are you playing weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? For how many hours? What happens when someone flakes? Rules expectations. Are you doing rules as written? Rule of cool? Combo of both? Are all the dice rolls public, or does the DM roll in private, and is that okay? Homebrew and house rules. Is drinking a potion a bonus action? Are guns a thing? Can you counterspell a counterspell? Do you track every arrow and ration? They should know all that before session 1. It's not overkill. It's just communication. You're deciding what kind of show you'll be making together. And here's a bonus tip. Try to play with others who enjoy D&D in a similar way to you. If you love a lot of lore and roleplay, you're not going to enjoy a table of players who care more about min-maxing their characters and having many combats in one session. This should probably be discussed before session 0, honestly. Have a strict schedule. I know, you want to be flexible because you're excited to play and you don't want to seem pushy, but D&D does not survive on good intentions. If the game isn't on the calendar, it's not real. So pick a time, make it recurring, and treat it like a standing commitment, because the number one killer of campaigns isn't TPKs or drama, it's scheduling issues. Lock it in or it won't last. My personal rule is if a majority of the players, DM excluded, can make it, then the session is on. If a player has to miss, their character is still with the party, but they're assumed to have been quieter and more absent-minded. For story purposes, they experience everything the players did, but mechanically they don't partake in combat, skill checks, things like that. Don't over-prepare. You think the more you prep, the more secure you'll feel. But the truth is, the game never goes how you expect. You're going to write 12 pages of political intrigue, and your players will ignore it to flirt with the innkeep. So what do? You stop trying to predict everything and instead prepare just enough to feel confident. If you're running homebrew, you don't need a finished world, but it should feel alive. That means consistent logic, cause and effect, and the sense that things will keep moving even if the players walk away. And if you freeze mid-session or feel lost, Pause, step away, take 5 minutes, reread your notes, and adjust your plan. I sometimes instruct my players to roleplay amongst themselves while I go and look stuff up. After all, we're the writers, directors, showrunners, and we play every secondary character. So take the time you need. Stop trying to win against your players. It's easy to fall into this trap, especially when you've worked hard on an encounter or story twist and the players blow right past it. You might feel the need and the urge to push back, to outsmart them, to even punish them a little for skipping what you planned. But when that happens, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer building the world around them, you're competing with them inside it. That's not what the game is for. And it's not fair since you're calling all the shots. Remember, they're meant to be the heroes of the show, and you're not their opponent. You're their storyteller, their world builder, the one creating the tension around them, not against them. So instead of thinking in terms of winning at dice rolls, think about how to create meaningful challenges. Make the stakes matter, for sure, but always in service of the story you're telling together. By the way, if you find this video useful or interesting, please hit the like button so others can find it too. And consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification bell so I know to create more videos like this for you. Spotlight every player, even the quiet ones. Some players jump right in with big roleplay moments, have no problem taking charge. Others hang back, not because they're bored, but because maybe they're shy or new or still finding their footing. And when you've got a loud table, it's easy to forget the quiet ones are even there. But if you want a happy table, you have to make room for everyone. This doesn't mean forcing anyone into the spotlight, but it does mean noticing who's hanging back and giving them small, low-pressure openings to engage. Ask what their character is doing. Give them an NPC who interacts with them directly. Over time, you're going to help them feel like part of the story. If one of your characters is searching the bodies of the enemies for loot, ask what the others are doing in the meantime. Think of it like a TV show. One scene can be intercut with another. Imagine a voiceover that says, "Meanwhile, across town." I sometimes actually say that out loud as a jokey segue. You should have your own "meanwhile" across the room or the pit or the graveyard. You get it. Yes and is overrated. Try no but. The phrase "yes and" gets thrown around a lot, especially in advice for new DMs. It's also one of my 5 rules for good roleplay, and I stand by that. And sure, encouraging player creativity is important, but D&D has structure. It has rules. Not everything is possible just because it's funny or dramatic in the moment. That's where no but comes in. It gives you a way to redirect wild ideas without shutting them down completely. No, you can't shoot the enemy directly in the eye to one-shot kill them. But give me a dexterity check to see if a splinter from your bolt hitting the armor blinds them enough to grant advantage to the next attacker. You're keeping things grounded in the world and the rules of the game while still rewarding creativity. Here's a bonus tip. Allow players to do something slightly outside the scope of their ability if they use more resources, like using a higher level spell slot for a spell to do something cool that perhaps isn't quite rules as written. You don't have to talk in voices. Let's clear this up. You don't have to be Matt Mercer to be an engaging DM. Doing accents and voices is optional and always has been. What matters is clarity and immersion. If you can make each NPC feel distinct in some way, whether it's a certain phrase, rhythm, or tone, that's enough. It can be as simple as always having the merchant call everyone "my friend," or using short clip sentences for a military commander. Those little cues give your players a mental hook to grab onto, even if the voice itself isn't actually changing. If you enjoy doing voices, great, lean into that. But also make sure to keep notes. I have often forgotten what accent or voice tone I used for a character 3 sessions ago. And if you don't enjoy doing voices or accents, or it makes you nervous, that's totally fine. Just try to differentiate your NPCs and play up their vibe or energy. Fudge when it serves the story. There's a lot of advice out there about whether you should ever fudge a die roll. And honestly, it depends on the table. But here's what I'll say. Sometimes the dice create tension. Other times, they ruin it. If your players are building toward a big emotional moment and a bad roll would undercut that, you can soften the outcome or skip the roll altogether. If the big bad final villain goes down too quickly and you haven't built up the right dramatic weight yet, you can adjust their HP or add a spell to their spellbook that would help them recover a little bit. It isn't about protecting your plan from the players, it's about protecting the experience for everyone. So yes, let the dice fall where they may most of the time. They are, after all, a storyteller in their own right. But when they break pacing or tone in a way that harms the session, it's okay to control them. Just do it carefully and always for the benefit of the players. In filmmaking, actors and writers are taught that deaths should be earned. Keep that in mind when a party is about to TPK. There's no win in sticking to some preconceived plan about an encounter if it means the entire campaign screeches to an anticlimactic end. But on the other side of that, be ruthless when the balance is right and the players are making mistakes. If they choose to stay and fight in an encounter that is overwhelming and they were given the opportunity to flee, then that's a choice they made. Make it fun for yourself so you don't burn out. At first, it's exciting. You're building the world, crafting the plot, prepping everything just the way you want it. But over time, if you're saying yes to every request the players make and running things the way you think Matt Mercer would instead of how you want to, it starts feeling like work. And the truth is, DMing is work. Emotional, creative, social work. So if you don't protect your own enjoyment, the campaign won't last. Run stories that excite you. Use house rules that you actually like. Be honest with your players when something is draining you. Assign them some of the workload, like the session recaps or bringing the snacks if you play in person. Because if you're enjoying yourself, your energy carries the whole table. And when you're not, trust me, they feel it. Remember to be the benevolent God at the table and the glue that keeps it all together. It's a big responsibility, especially if your sessions are 4 hours or more. Mine are 6. But on the flip side, if you're not appreciated for all your efforts, then communicate that to your players. And if the feeling continues, find yourself a different table to DM for. If this list helped you, let me know in the comments. Also, I'd love to know what you wish you had known before your first time DMing. Maybe I'll make a part 2. And if you're working on improving your role-playing skills at the table, check out my last video. It's full of practical tips for both players and DMs. Till next time, roll high and stay in character. Goodbye.